sure you've heard plenty of people say, oh, I'm high off life, but what does this really mean? And there are many, many different perspectives on what this means. Now, lots of people may think, oh, it's not that deep and it's simple, but everything in life is very deep and interconnected if you're willing to do the work to look deeply at everything and not just look on the surface. So when someone says, oh, I'm high off life, that may be characterized by overwhelming peace and tranquility, or happiness and joy, or just being content in life. And sure, that's being high off life, but there's other perspectives to this as well. For instance, if we take into consideration when people smoke and people actually get high, what do people say about that? People will say, oh, I'm high as a kite, or I'm in the clouds. Now, this isn't a literal phrase. People aren't literally up in the sky. They're not literally up in the clouds. They're not literally like a kite up in the air. But this is an analogy saying how they are experiencing a altered state of consciousness, or they are operating from a higher mental perspective or a higher state of consciousness. They are mentally or spiritually high. And what's also interesting is this is something that's referenced in the Bible. Now, I just want to go ahead and put this out here. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Catholic. I don't conform to any sort of organized religion. But as someone who has studied the Bible, I see there are lots of spiritual messages in the Bible, because it's actually a spiritual book, but a lot of people miss them. So what's funny is if you look into someone like the story of Abraham or Moses, right? It talks about how they always went up on a mountain to speak to God. Now, what's funny is all throughout the Bible, it's telling you, you are the house of God, you are the building of God, you are the temple of God, the Spirit of God dwells within you. So if God is within you, why would you be going up on a physical mountain to speak to God or be with God or whatever? It's because this is another analogy, just like that phrase I gave earlier about people when they smoke. They weren't literally climbing up on mountains to speak to God or to feel God's presence, but rather they were elevating to higher states of consciousness within themselves. The mountain symbolized them going into a higher state. And when it said that they were speaking to God in the clouds, it's that same thing as the person smoking. And when they say I'm on cloud 9 or I'm up in the clouds, they were speaking to God or becoming really connected with the spirit of life, source, God, whatever you want to refer to it as, through these higher elevated states of consciousness. And this can be done through smoking. This could be done just by living. This can also be done through meditation, which is another thing that's referenced in the Bible. Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Isa, whatever you want to refer to him as, it also states in the Bible that he went away from the multitudes apart on the mountain to pray. Well, what's interesting is in the book of Romans, it tells you, for we know not what to pray, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings that cannot be uttered. And uttered means spoken. So the Bible was actually talking to us about meditation, but a lot of people don't realize that. When it went over what praying was, and when Jesus Christ said this is how to pray, he wasn't talking about speaking words. He was giving a description of what is being done. And that's why he also said, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who stand on street corners or on the temples and synagogues so that they could be seen. But he said, enter into your closet and shut the door. Well, if you're the house, you're the temple, you're the building of God, he was saying to shut off yourself from all outside noises or distractions and enter into a quiet space within yourself so that you can elevate to that higher state of consciousness and be one with the Spirit, one with Source, one with God. Another way we see this, this play out in life of, just being high off life is you could get high just by living, just by existing, by breathing. Through breath work, you could experience the same sort of highs you would get from smoking you could experience through breath work. And a lot of people may not notice, but it's with certain breathing techniques. Like one I've done before is you do deep inhales through your nostrils and out through your mouth. And you do it quickly. You do rapid bursts, deep in and out, and you try to do as quickly as possible. And you keep doing it over and over and over and persistently. And then once you stop, you'll experience that same sort of high you would get from smoking. So by breathing, by being, by existing, by doing breath work, by smoking, by meditating, by being thankful and grateful and, at peace with reality and tranquil and just enjoying the environment around you, you are high off life. So there's many different ways you could be high off life. You see, heaven and hell aren't physical, literal realities. It's mental states. And whatever you experience mentally is what you project outward onto the world. So experiencing hell often comes from spiritual inexperience. But if you are at peace, if you are happy, if you are tranquil, if you're, joyful or whatever, and you're mentally in heaven, you physically experience heaven. If you're someone who's always complaining and you're resentful and you're angry, you're also projecting that into your outer reality, because how you feel internally is also what you experience externally. So to be high off life, there's many ways you could experience it, but regardless, it all first starts within, and that's within the mind, whether through meditation, whether through smoking, whether through just slowing down and being thankful for all that's around.